It's Monday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns 5 Points podcast, presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. He is Thomas. I am Beck. We are the Dugas brothers. We're about to be at 1 year, Thomas. Our first episode aired August 26th of 2025. It's August 24th, 2026, so we're almost a year into this thing. We're on our 72nd episode. Thank you to everyone who watches, listens, interacts, comments. We appreciate all of the people that do. And if you are listening, watching right now, please remember to go subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Follow us on socials. Touchdown 5 Points on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Go follow us, comment, do whatever you want to do, make fun of us, agree with us. We appreciate all of the interaction, and we enjoy hearing from what y'all think, so we can make our shows better and talk about what y'all are, what the feeling is with fans out there of college football. But shout out to Steven Garcia. I'm wearing his shirt. I know he's still in his battle, but good signs of ringing the bell for Steven Garcia. Have another shout out that Thomas is going to do.
Yes, Ross, can you throw it? Yeah. So Henry Hallinan, he is a Touchdowns customer. I will continue to shout you guys out if you come up to me at the bar and mention that you have been listening to the podcast. Beck and I appreciate y'all listening, and I appreciate y'all as customers at TD's. So the next shout out in that line of thinking is Henry Hallinan.
Shout out to Henry. Shout out to Henry. Appreciate you, Henry. Appreciate everyone out there. Let's dive into it. Thomas, win totals. This is going to be a fun episode. We've both picked 5 win totals that we're looking at this season. Full comprehensive season preview is coming next week. This will give a little bit of a taste of that flavor, but this is really a fun exercise to look at win totals and really targeting teams that we may think will exceed expectations or some that maybe won't. But let's dive into these win totals. We're also going to talk some Gamecock football stories later in the episode, as well as there's a few college football stories that have come into the news of recent days. So stay tuned for that. But let's dive into the over-under win total predictions for 2026. I'll let you do the honors, Thomas. If you want to choose your first, and then
well, this is just the order that Ross assigned them in. This is not like the order of my confidence, but my first one was Clemson under 7.5. This is a pretty obvious pick. We're South Carolina fans. We hate Clemson. We always expect the worst of them or hope for the worst for them. But if I were forced to pick which 5 games I have them losing to hit this mark, I'm going to have them losing the opener to LSU in Baton Rouge. I'm going to have them losing at home to Miami. I think those are probably the best 2 rosters that they'll face this season with their schedule. And then next, I would have them losing at home to Virginia Tech. I think that Virginia Tech is going to kind of make some immediate waves in the ACC this year with the hire of James Franklin and all the players that he brought with him from Penn State. I don't have them losing to Florida State. I think that Florida State's going to be a dumpster fire this year. I've seen other people predict them to lose that game. I actually have Clemson winning that game. And then, the last month of the year, they have a stretch where it's like Duke, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse. I think all three of those games are swing games for them. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'll say that they lose to Georgia Tech. I really like Brent Key. I like his the way he's running that program, and of course, I have them losing to us to close the year. So that is 7-5, under 7.5 for Clemson.
Yeah, I didn't have Clemson on my list. I stayed away from the Clemson under and the South Carolina over just because I figured people would assume that's what I would think. But I'm with you. Clemson, again, that's not a easy game to start the season with all the talent that LSU has.
Well, yeah, I mean they've added 3 NFL players in the last few weeks.
Which we will touch on here in the later part of the episode. But yeah, I mean I can see that happening. But Clemson, they got some suspension on their D line. CV, baby Josh Allen, he's not proven. So I'm with you here, and that's actually a good transition to my first pick, which is Virginia Tech over 6.5. You mentioned they have Clemson on the schedule. I really think James Franklin's going to make some noise. He was a successful coach at Penn State, a very successful coach at Penn State. He just couldn't win the game or games where he had the most eyeballs on him. And so the perception around James Franklin is that he isn't a good coach or he can't win the big one. There's a reason he was at Penn State. It's because he won games at Vanderbilt. More so than what Clark Lee has done. Now, Clark Lee had the resume booster when he beat number 1 Alabama, and the Diego Pavia hype that came to that, the eyes that came to that program because of Diego Pavia. But James Franklin was winning at a better clip at Vanderbilt than even Clark Lee was, and that's what got him the job at Penn State. He coached well at Penn State, and I think he's going to bring more winning ways to Virginia Tech. They have a ton of investment in their program because of him. They have the 7th ranked transfer portal class. We've seen it. That's going to be a theme for my first 2 picks is just new coach, new era at schools that severely underperformed last year. And I think that the transfer, looking at a program like Indiana, who James Madison's a group of 6 school, and 60% of Indiana's roster the last couple of years is made up of James Madison guys. And I think that what James Franklin can do at Virginia Tech, and you look at the schedule, VMI, Old Dominion, at Maryland, at Boston College in September, that's pretty soft to start the James Franklin era. I'm not scared of road games at Maryland and at Boston College. I think they're 4-0, hosting Pitt in Blacksburg on October 2nd. I think they win that game. So that's 5-0. They're already 2 wins away, but we'll get into this. But I'm really, really high on Virginia Tech, not just over 6.5 wins, but Cal's a tricky game out there in Berkeley. They do have some tough road games at SMU, at Miami. In the later part of the season, people are high on Virginia, rivalry week, but that game is at Lane Stadium. Georgia Tech and Clemson in the middle of the schedule, but I think Virginia Tech is going to be really good this year. The games that plague James Franklin and the teams and program, he's rid of that curse. He doesn't have to deal with Ohio State anymore. He doesn't have to play Michigan and Oregon week, these tougher games that he couldn't seem to win. Obviously, I'm really looking forward. I think that game at Miami on November 21st could be a really exciting and have a lot of implications late in the season. Plus, it's an old Big East rivalry, so rekindling some of that should be fun. But I got Virginia Tech over 6.5, and I'm even higher than that on Virginia Tech this season, making a splash for James Franklin in the ACC.
Yeah, I like that pick. Like I said, I have them beating Clemson, which is probably a game that they're not going to be favored in. So if they can beat Clemson and just win the games they're favored in, like you said, they'll be really close to hitting that over. In addition to why I think that's a good pick and why I think you're kind of on a good thought process with just them disrupting the ACC. I think the brand of football they're going to play is stylistically a lot different than what most of the teams in the ACC do. I think that he's going to kind of run the same type of pro style, 2 tight ends, maybe a fullback, pound the football in the run game, play hard nosed defense, which like that works really well when you have a better roster than the other team. But then, he would run into it against Michigan, Ohio. Like when he faced a team that they could not outclass in the trenches, that scheme is hard to win with. But in the ACC, I think they're not going up against as talented of fronts, and B, because they're kind of an outlier. Back when Georgia Tech ran the triple option, it was a pain in the ass to play them because you don't really get to see that look except for that one game a year. It's not quite as different as the triple option is, but it's still stylistically different than what the ACC typically does. And so I think that's another reason why they could be big disruptors this year. So I agree with you. But on to my second pick. It is another new coach, which is something that you touched on. I have UCLA over 6.5. And I just want to shout out Taylor Anderson, friend of the pod. He and I were chopping it up about the Gamecocks a couple of days ago, and he threw that out there, and I looked into it, and I agree with him. They brought in Bob Chesney, and he was most recently at JMU post Signetti, but he's been a coach for a long time. I think that he's a guy that's proven that he can win, and they kind of have like a sneaky roster with Nico over there. I know that he's kind of fallen out of favor in terms of like national guys and not really been what he might. When I saw his high school tape, I was like, "Fuck, dude, Tennessee has a dude like they're going to be a problem," and then his family or whoever is in charge of NIL for him really kind of stifled his career with that holdout last season. But he's still a talented kid. So if the new coaching staff does a good job with him, in addition to just the team overall, I think that's an over that UCLA can hit.
Yeah, it's interesting. The JMU stepping stone to success in college football. We obviously saw Kirk Signetti do it from JMU to Indiana, and a lot of people are really high on Bob Chesney as well, going over to UCLA. Yeah, I don't know much about UCLA. Boxy Futures, our boy Taylor Anderson, he's pretty good at getting reads on futures, and I've seen him have some success. So the fact you were cooking up with him gives me some confidence. But yeah, I like the pick. I don't know. Not gonna lie, I don't know enough to really act like I have a educated opinion on that pick. But I feel like it's a solid pick for you, and that's all I have to say on that. I'll move to my pick. Oklahoma State over 6.5. This is a program that just released the all-time GOAT for them, Mike Gundy. He was a player there. He coached there for 20 years. The mullet, just it was kind of shocking, his exit and just how bad they were last year. Really weird because they had some really great teams under Mike Gundy, and I don't know what happened, but they're bringing in Eric Morris from North Texas, and he's got his quarterback Drew Mestemaker. North Texas was the number one scoring offense in the country last year. They went 11-2. They almost made the playoff. They lost to Tulane in the American Conference Championship. And I just think, again, the group of I get it, the group of 6, group of 5, whatever you want to call it, you don't get respect. You don't play the toughest schedule. So who cares that they put up 45? But I keep harping on how Cignetti took some, you take guys that are upsets happen in college football, and I know you have to have certain blue chip ratio and all these things to win championships, or that's typically how it's done. But I think when you're taking a guy that had success at a group of 5, and I think he can take his formula and give it put it in place in a program with more resources, more fertile recruiting, more all of these things, it can work. And so I think Oklahoma State's going to make big noise in the Big 12. Texas Tech is the perceived favorite in that conference. And then you have some other teams like BYU and some of these other teams that are kind of considered Houston, like maybe considered dark horses or next in line to Texas Tech. I won't lie, Texas Tech is stacked with what they've put into their roster. But I'm going to go with the coach, and I think he's got the quarterback. I think Drew Mestemaker is going to be in New York, losing the Heisman to Lenoris, but I think he's going to get there and be a finalist. I think, similar to how I'm high on Virginia Tech, I'm very high on Oklahoma State. They were so bad last year, and it didn't make sense. But what they brought in, I just think when you're solid at quarterback, and yes, you're bringing a lot of non-Power 4 recruits. So a lot of these guys but a lot of times it's just people didn't have the vision, or people didn't have the notoriety coming out of high school to see these guys and how talented they are. So I think Oklahoma State's going to surprise people. I think their roster's probably better than recruiting rankings would indicate. And again, when you have the scheme and the quarterback, that kid's a stud. I mean, last year he was a freshman. He threw for 4,400 yards, 34 touchdowns, 9 picks. I mean, he was, and like I said, they were the number one scoring offense. So I like them, and especially I don't think the Big 12 is strong. I think it's a lot of solid teams, and maybe some people would say Texas Tech is, in that above solid elite category. But Texas Tech is, they got some turmoil with the quarterback and the gambling situation, and I know their defense is studly and athletic, but I like Oklahoma State, and their schedule lines up too. I'm going to have a barometer early in the season. They play Oregon in Stillwater week 2. I'm super excited. I think that's one of the most underrated games of the week 2 slate. Unfortunately, it's a nooner, so 11 a.m. Central Time for the fans there in Stillwater. But that is a lot of people are gargling Oregon right now, national media wise. So that's going to be I'm going to love to watch that game to kind of see And Oklahoma State might not win that game, but just to see how they stack up with what is perceived to be one of the best teams in the country early in the season, a good early test, and then they can. I think they'll be able to navigate their Big 12 schedule. Texas Tech, they get it home late in the season. Again, I think that could be like an awesome game with a lot of implications nationally if Oklahoma State is as good as I think they'll be. So looking forward to watching them, and I do think Drew Mestemaker is going to be in New York when it's all said and done this season.
Well, I mean, I think it would be more entertaining for the show if we disagreed on some of these, but that hasn't happened yet, and it's not going to happen on this pick. I think Messemaker's a freak. Like if you're listening to this show right now, or you're watching this show right now, and you haven't seen that kid play, you need to Google his highlights. You know, there's a lot to be said about him playing, moving up a division from Group of 5 to Power 4. And, maybe when he's playing better players, it'll be different. Maybe he's not an elite processor, but the kid's arm talent is unreal. Like, I gamble a lot. I watch a lot of football. I'm at Touchdowns all day, every Saturday. We have 13 TVs, so I have any game on with any type of competitive edge to it, or any game that I have action on. And so I had, and I picked up on the scoring offense pretty quickly, and I had a lot of North Texas overs last year. And so I've seen the quarterback play, and some of the throws he can make are pretty crazy. But my third pick is going to be UNC under 4.5. I have them losing in Ireland to TCU week 0. That's going to be my first. That's going to be my first action on a game that I've had in quite some time. So I'm actually really excited about that. I hate Clemson. I root against Clemson every week, but I do have Clemson beating UNC, and so I think they lose 2 of their first 3 or 4, and I just think kind of all the wind is already out of the sails for them on the season. I thought Belichick was a terrible hire going into it. It was pretty much a dumpster fire last year. I expect that to continue this year, and it'll be interesting to see who they go after next. But yeah, I'm low on UNC. Obviously, Vegas is too. The line is at 4.5, but I don't think they get to 5.
Yeah, I just pulled up their schedule. I'm gonna try and find 5 wins on it, but East Tennessee State. But they got to play Notre Dame. That's an L. Miami. That's an L. I think they're going to lose to TCU as well. I mean, not many. You maybe think they could beat UConn. I think Virginia's better than them. Maybe they can.
They won't beat Virginia. Virginia is like going to be like one of those sneaky teams. They're one of the oldest teams in Power 4. Like, I don't know if they're as talented as Indiana was last year, but they're definitely copying the senior, like 5th-year senior strategy. Virginia has a lot of guys that have played a lot of football.
Yeah.
I don't see UNC losing to them at all.
Yeah,
I don't see the UNC beating Virginia.
Yeah, so where is UNC gonna? Do you think they can Belichick after this season?
Yeah, for sure. If not in the middle of it, I mean, I'm sure they're going to do whatever makes the most sense financially. But I thought it was a dumb hire to begin with. Yeah, and it didn't go well last year, and it won't go well again. So yeah, I think they'll move on.
Do you have I know this is putting you on the spot. Do you have a name
for them?
Yeah, that would be intriguing at UNC.
Well, a lot of it will center on if Florida State is open as well or not. Because if Florida State is not open, then UNC would be the best job on the market. But if Florida State is open, I think UNC would be the second best job on the market. And if they are the best job on the market, then I think they'll probably go the either coordinator from a high profile school or head coach from a G5 school. Like
the most successful G5 coach this year.
Whoever has like buzz attached to them. But yeah, it's I think it's too early to kind of really know who they would want.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking at their schedule. I don't know. You might be right. You might be right on that one. Maybe or maybe not. You'll disagree with this one. I got staying in the state of Oklahoma. I'm taking the Sooners over 7.5. I was surprised at this number. And they do have a tough schedule, one would say. But to me, it's because they play Michigan out of conference, so they don't have the kind of guaranteed 3 cupcakes on their schedule. So that I think they would be at 8.5, obviously, if they weren't playing Michigan. But that to me, I think they're going to beat Michigan, first of all. I think they'll, even though it's in the big house, I think their defense is good enough to affect Underwood. And, that's going to be a marquee matchup there early in the season. But I think, John Mateer getting healthy and being better is going to be big for them. The defense is always good under Brent Venables. He always has good defenses. The schedule is tough, but I think they lose in Athens. I think they're going to beat Texas. They've played like shit against Texas under Brent Venables. I don't think they've scored like an offensive touchdown the last 3 years against something crazy. They've just been bad in that game. I think they turned that around. I think Texas is going to get that early season win against Ohio State. They're going to squeak it out, and Texas is going to have a lot of hype. But I do think Texas is going to stumble in the SEC. We obviously play Oklahoma. I think that is one of the games that we are going to lose in Norman. But I'm not really buying A&M. I'm not buying Missouri. They got Kentucky and Mississippi State on their schedule. At Florida in November, who knows how good Florida's going to be. That game might be tougher than expected. They get Ole Miss at home. I kind of like this schedule. 7.5, getting to 8, I think is very doable. They're another team that a lot of these teams I'm high, I think are going to not only exceed their win totals, but be much better than their win totals. So, ultimately I have Oklahoma going to the playoff at the end of the year, but obviously the big swing games are, the Michigan game early in the season, the Texas game in the middle, and you could say maybe that the November schedule at Florida, hosting Ole Miss, hosting A&M, at Missouri. I just think that's not as tough as probably what most people out there think. I don't think Missouri is going to be good. I think Texas A&M is overrated. So that's just where I am with, and I think Oklahoma, again, they're going to be a top 10 defense, and Mateer as long as he stays healthy, the offense should be better than last year.
I don't know where I sit with this one. I agree that I think they'll have an elite defense. I'm kind of to the point where it may just be the contrarian in me, but like it seems like everybody is picking at OU as one of our losses, just because like I think people hate giving out a loss for their own team, but obviously when you pull for a team that's never gone on undefeated before, it's kind of unreasonable to expect that. So people try and pick the loss that makes the most sense. And because it's on the road and because Oklahoma's a good team and because we lost to them last year, like everyone seems to be picking us to lose to Oklahoma. And maybe I'm just tired of hearing that. But yeah, I mean, if you have them beating Texas, I definitely think they get to 8. The crazy thing about the SEC this year is that there are a few teams at the bottom, and there's a few teams that are probably a few notches above everybody else. But the middle 10, it's like 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom, and then the 10 in the middle, I feel like every single game could be a swing. So all of these 6.5, 7.5, 8.5 SEC over-unders are going to be really interesting to see how they play out. That's kind of a non-answer for me, but yeah. My next pick is going to be. Let me see the order. Florida State under 5.5. I went with a lot of unders for mine. I think I've latched on to all the train wrecks. I think Norvell, should have been fired last year, but obviously the way that coaching buyouts function today prevented that from being really a reasonable thing for the university. But I don't think they have any juice. They have to play Alabama in non-con again, and I think as soon as things start to go left this year, people like they will just quit. So yeah, I think that this is the final curtain call for the Norvell era. But they did flip a safety from us a few months ago because maybe I'm jaded about that. He says that Florida State's way ahead of South Carolina as a program, but I don't think that he's going to be playing for the coach that recruited him if he goes there.
We'll know a lot about Florida State early, and they play SMU on Labor Day. I didn't realize they're a part of Week 0.
Yeah, they have New Mexico State.
Yeah.
It's a 31-point spread. I didn't expect it to be that high, obviously, because I think Florida State sucks, but I guess that says more about New Mexico State than Florida State. Like I was considering taking New Mexico State to cover, but the fact that it's 31 makes me a little nervous that they're just terrible, and it'll be like a 40 or 50 something to 3 or 10 game. Ironically, if the spread were closer, it would give me more confidence in taking New Mexico State.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get a Week 0. Again, that might not be the real test, but standalone game Monday night on Labor Day, they'll have a lot of eyes. We'll get to see pretty early. Then they get not the full 2 weeks, but they get a bye before they have to go to Tuscaloosa. But yeah, I mean, I have a feeling we're going to know who Florida State is on September 20th.
I think SMU smokes them. I think Alabama smokes them, and then they're just like, okay, we're done. Season's over. Let's fire the coach and try again next year.
Yeah, I mean, it could get ugly quick. They get Central Arkansas after Bama, but then they play Virginia, who might be one of the better teams in the ACC. Then they have to go at Louisville, which Okay, I think Louisville's probably top half of the ACC. Then they have to play at Miami.
Oh yeah, dude, they're so.
I mean,
they're
they could be 2-5.
They're gonna start 2-5. They're gonna start 2-5. I'm gonna hit this. I'm gonna hit this in October.
You said, wait, who'd you say? Florida State is going to beat Clemson, or you think Clemson's going to beat Florida State?
I have Clemson beating Florida State.
So they would be 2-6.
Yeah.
With 4 games, they'd have to win out versus Boston College, Pittsburgh, NC State, Florida.
Yeah. I think this is my favorite one yet.
I don't know. Norvell back against the wall. We'll see. We'll see what they do. They're an interesting team because, like you said, the job itself is attractive despite what is going on with Norvell. It's still an attractive job in a
the logo is
winnable conference, and they got the tradition and the brand power and the location, the recruiting, the fertile recruiting territory. So super interesting team for this year. All right, my 4th pick, Georgia, the Dogs, over 9.5. Again, they're on our schedule, so I obviously don't like the fact I have two teams on our schedule going over. But again, I think Oklahoma is going to beat us, but I think we're going to beat Georgia. But I was just they just aren't going to lose many other games. Like Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, 2-0. At Arkansas, they're going to crush Arkansas. They get Oklahoma in Athens at the end of September. I think they win that game. They're going to crush Vanderbilt. Alabama's been the Achilles heel to Georgia's program under Kirby Smart. I think they exercise that demon, and they should handle Bama even in Tuscaloosa. I just think they're more physical, just Kirby's style versus Kalen DeBoer's. I just think they got the quarterback back. They're just littered with talent. I mean, they're still, I don't know exactly what their blue chip ratio is, but they just still have talent all over the field. And it's just incredible that it was a walk-on guy who looks like he wouldn't stand out in a chemistry class in Athens. Like Stetson Bennett, and that's who wins them 2 national championships. I just think they always have the roster. Kirby, to me, is an overrated in-game coach. Obviously, he's produced plenty of results, and I think that's because they typically have the better team on the field. They almost always, in every scenario, have more talent than anyone they play. But I don't think I think that's Bama's the one that everyone has circled in Tuscaloosa, and I think they exercise that demon. They're going to beat Auburn. They're going to beat Florida. Ole Miss got them last year. I don't think they're going to lose to Ole Miss, like Missouri, Georgia Tech. I think they're going to go 11-1 and lose to us, which again, people are going to say you're crazy, but I legit think on November 21st it's going to be 8-2 South Carolina versus undefeated Georgia in Columbia. It's going to be pandemonium. I can't wait. But
so you have us at 8-2 against Georgia. You have us losing to OU. What is the other loss?
At Florida. I know it doesn't make sense, but I just think that's a game we're gonna fuck up.
If that is the game that we fuck up, I will be furious. I swear to God.
We're allowed two. You're allowed 2 mess ups.
I know, but I don't want that one to be one of them.
It would put more pressure on us, but the swamp just doesn't matter. I don't know what
If we were 5-0 going into Florida and we lost that game, I would be livid. Livid.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna suck, but I'm probably gonna be wrong, but I just think we're gonna lose that game. I know we probably shouldn't lose that game, especially if we're going in there 5-0, which I think we will be. But the swamp, just stupid shit happens, and I just think we're gonna mess up that game somehow, some way, and it's gonna be a big win for Summerall and blobbity blobbity blah. But we'll rebound. And but yeah, that Georgia game is going to be fun. But yeah, Georgia's just, dude, they're too good, man, and they have the experienced quarterback. It's just they're just too talented. They're just going to be better than and more physical than most of the teams on their schedule, and they're good in big games except against Alabama. Like it's not like they're choke artists like Penn State or
right.
Like they literally have just this regular. They beat the hell out of Alabama in the SEC championship. It's like, and they beat them in the playoff. But it's Kirby Smart regular season Alabama for whatever reason. They can't beat them, but they will beat them in Tuscaloosa this year. And really, they should be favored heavily in every other game.
I like this pick. I when we do the, not to give too much of our season preview away, but like, I think Georgia might be the only team that I do pick us to lose to preseason. I think that Gunnar Stockton coming back is a lot more significant than I think that him being their quarterback should be talked about more than it has been so far. Like, I kind of always viewed him as a game manager, but then that Tennessee game last year really impressed. Like the composure he had, some of the throws that he made, like they can have a really dynamic, explosive offense with him playing quarterback, and he's got a ton of experience. We know they're going to have a good O-line. We know they're going to have good running backs. We know they're going to have a good defense. So, the knock on them recently has just been that they haven't had like elite wide receivers, but I don't know that their receivers are bad. I don't know enough about their team to say that their receivers are bad, but I think that they're really good. I'm honestly pretty surprised that the line is 9.5. That's just like another example of how the 9-game SEC schedule is affecting these lines, because
Absolutely.
That it just feels outrageously low for a team that's talented. But I like that pick. My final pick is Tennessee under 7.5. This has a lot to do with me being high on South Carolina and believing that we will beat Tennessee at home. But, I think that Heupel has kind of stagnated there a little bit. The whole Nico thing really killed their momentum. They just named a starting quarterback today.
The freshman.
Faison. Heupel has kind of downplayed what breaking in a new quarterback would mean for their season expectations. He's done it several times both at Tennessee and throughout his career. I just don't know that, with all of the talent and the teams that every team is going to have to see this year, if you are behind the 8 ball at the quarterback position, I think that's a really difficult hurdle to overcome. So, I think we knock off Tennessee at home. I think that they lose to Bama. I think that they lose to, I don't have their schedule in front of me. Do they draw Texas or Oklahoma?
Texas. In Knoxville.
I'm going to pick Texas over Tennessee. I'm going to take Bama over Tennessee. I'm going to take us over Tennessee. Do they have Ole Miss or A&M?
They get A&M in Kyle Field. Here, I can, because I actually disagree with you on this one.
Let's break it down. Okay, they are going to open.
Here's where they open.
Furman. All right, I think they start 3-0, but I'm gonna have them losing to Alabama. I'm gonna have them losing to LSU. I'm gonna have them losing to Texas. I'm gonna have them losing to us. So they would, for me to be correct, they would need to split Georgia Tech and A&M, and I think that's pretty reasonable. So, and then, they still close with Vanderbilt too, who whooped their ass last year.
Yeah, yeah, I disagree with you though. I'm actually, because I'm not as high on A&M. I'm not as high on Bama. I think though, I can see them losing to Texas. I think they're going to lose to us. That Auburn game's kind of a wild card.
Is it in Auburn?
It's in Knoxville. So I mean, I do think they'll win that game. I just don't know how good Auburn's gonna. Auburn's a weird. Auburn could be like a huge wrench in the. They might not be good, but I could see them knocking someone off that they shouldn't.
Right. Yeah. If Auburn's a team that's going to affect a lot of over-unders by pulling upsets. I think Florida's a team that's going to affect a lot of over-unders by pulling upsets. I think a lot of outside people would say that about us. We're obviously higher on ourselves and think that we're just like a legitimate SEC contender this year. But yeah, Auburn is definitely a team that I don't expect to be great, but they're good enough to win games they shouldn't, especially when it's in Auburn.
Yeah, I got Tennessee getting to 8-4, but we'll see. All right, this last one you're gonna have to defend your boy, Indiana, under 10.5. The magical ride is over for the Hoosiers. They're number 6 preseason. 10.5 is a lot of wins. If you look at their schedule, it's very soft, obviously, in September. They have the likes of North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, and Northwestern to start the year. I think they're going to be 5-0. They get Rutgers their 5th game, and so they'll be 5-0 going into Nebraska. Now, I'm not saying Nebraska is going to beat them. I do think that's a potential tricky game. I have them losing to Ohio State on October 17th, and then I just need one loss between at Michigan, Southern Cal, and at Washington. I mean, I think they beat Minnesota at home on Halloween. I think they'll beat Purdue at home. So that's 7 wins, and then 7-1 if you count Ohio State as a loss. Let's just go ahead and say they beat Nebraska. So you're 8-1. I just need at Michigan, Southern Cal, at Washington. I think those are 3 legitimate teams. I just need them to lose one of those games. If they lose to Ohio, I could see them losing 2 out of those 3, even if they do beat Ohio State. I just think it's a little tougher than people think at the end of the year. I'm kind of curious to see what Southern Cal looks like this year under Lincoln Riley, because I feel like they're a swing team that some people are high on, some people aren't. Lincoln Riley going to get fired if they're 8-4 this year or not in playoff contention, or is he going to get back to having them having a program that's a legit in the national conversations. It's just an interesting schedule for me. It's just very soft at the beginning, so I think people are going to be in the top 5 halfway through the season. That Ohio State matchup will be big noon kickoff, college game day, the whole nine. They're in Bloomington. I don't know. I'm not sold. The magic can be recreated from what they did last year.
I don't think it's magic though, man. I just think that Cignetti's a machine. Like I saw a clip of him online the other day, talking about complacency, and the expression that he used was, I bounce back from wins quick, in that he doesn't even really savor when, like, it's just part of everyone, was trying to hire the next Nick Saban. I think Cignetti is the closest thing to the mentality of like what Nick Saban was that we're going to see from this generation of coaches. And there may be another guy that comes along in 10, 15, 20 years that is closer to Saban than Cignetti is. But as we sit here today, like, he's just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I'm so jealous of Indiana fans that they got him, but I can see them losing to Ohio State because Ohio State has a ton of talent still. But I don't think they lose any of those other games you brought up. Michigan has a really, really good running back, Savion Hyder. But I don't think Bryce Underwood was very impressive last year. And if the new staff can't unlock him, I think it'll be pretty similar to what they've been, post Harbaugh, which is a team with a really, really good defense that can run the football and bully bad teams. And then when they come up against someone that's actually good, their quarterback isn't good enough to win them the game. Southern Cal, I think, is so soft. I think Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma was one of the worst things that he's ever done for his career. Although I don't think that he could have survived at Oklahoma in the SEC either. Them canceling the Notre Dame game is so pussy to me. And like that's just, I think Cignetti's just going to they're going to chew them up. I don't know enough about Washington, if I'm being honest, to like really say why I think that they can't beat Indiana. But I guess I am putting more faith in Cignetti than anybody else. I'm still a believer in him.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to think, man, like, I do call it magic because, like, even in the regular season, the Penn State game, like, these moments that they had last year were truly magical. Like, that catch against Penn State, there's no, like, the human body shouldn't be able to contort like that, how that receiver was able to get a foot down. Like, they're on the road at Iowa, and Iowa's in control of the game, and they throw Iowa, come on. Like, I don't know. They're a good team. They have a great defense. Josh Hoover is the transfer quarterback from TCU. He was coached by Kendall Briles the past 3 years. He was productive. But is he Fernando Mendoza?
He doesn't, but what I'm saying is he doesn't have to be. They got an experienced quarterback. They brought in a stud running back from Boston College. The defense was really, really, really elite last year. And they brought a lot of people back. And then they were one of the first teams that brought players back once the 5-for-5 rule got passed. Like, they were one of those teams that, like, had great college players on defense that aren't necessarily NFL prospects, and I think they got one or two of those guys back. I know they got a D lineman that had used up his eligibility, didn't look like he was going to have a professional career, and once that fifth year of eligibility got implemented, he rejoined the team. So they're going to be old again. They're going to be experienced again. And I think that, the construction of their roster isn't identical to what it was last year, but I just believe in I believe in Cignetti as the leader of that program until he proves me wrong.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, 10-2 is nothing to scoff at. I think they come in 10-2, 9-3. Depending on how some things shake out. But I would be a lot more confident in this if they had a tough game in the first half of the season. I do think they're going to probably be 6-0 going into that Ohio State game and have a lot of confidence. And so that kind of scares me. The fact that they'll be able to get their engine running before they really face a test. But I just still think Ohio State's the team to beat in the Big Ten this year. I think they go in and win it on the road, and then I just need them to stumble one more time. And they have three legit opponents in my mind in the after that Ohio State game where I think they might trip up once, but we'll see. It's gonna be interesting, but yeah, you went with a lot of unders. I went with a lot of overs. I think I was 4 overs, 1 under. You had what? All 5 unders, or no? You had the UCLA.
My only over is UCLA.
Okay. So yeah, if you're listening out there, we didn't do that on purpose, but if you want to find teams maybe to fade, maybe listen to Thomas's list. If you want to find teams to get behind, maybe listen to my list. But it should be interesting. And again, that gives you a little taste, at least for me, it gives you a little taste of how I think the season's going to go. I know you were, like you said, attached to a lot of train wrecks that maybe won't affect the national landscape from a college football playoff or conference battles. But your list could be very impactful if the coaches are fired and jobs open up and things like that. So it's going to be fun. That was a fun exercise. We didn't disagree quite as much or passionately, but hey, I feel like good points were made. Good points were made, but both ways.
After talking it through, I think my favorite by far is Florida State.
You know what? I mean, I think my favorite is Oklahoma State. Now that I've put it out there, just especially with how good I think their quarterback will be, to get to 7 wins in the Big 12. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that Oregon game week 2. That is a low key. I mean, I said it sucks that it's a 11 a.m. Central for the fans out there, but it's awesome for us as viewers at home on the TV, because watch that game, and then you got Ohio State, Texas later that night, Michigan, Oklahoma later that day, I believe. So should be a fun Saturday week 2. A lot of I think it's because the 9-game conference schedule, so they had to fit games in, and then for the teams like in the SEC that don't have a end of year rival, they have to schedule a Power 4 opponent, and they're doing it in September. So a lot of good games. I think like the preseason rankings and what the rankings are going to be like the first weekend of October, it's going to be crazy how much it changes through the first month of the season. But yeah, over unders. We don't promote gambling, but if you like to gamble, practice responsible units and go check these out.
I have a new system this year. So full disclosure, everybody, I'm not going to place any of the season totals that I just gave out. That doesn't mean that I put any less effort into picking them, but I am someone who from time to time gets irresponsible with my units. And so I have some guardrails in place for this upcoming season. I'm not going to do any futures. I'm not going to do any parlays. I'm not going to bet on South Carolina. And I've said that many times throughout my life, but I took us in just about every way you can take us last season. And I am fully convinced that I am a jinx and a curse. So for the greater good, I will not be taking South Carolina in any capacity this year, even though I do believe we are going to be really good. And I believe that Lenoris will be on revenge tour, redemption arc. But I am going to limit myself to risking $500 a week, which means that if I have placed $500 worth of bets, I could win all five. If I place $500 worth of bets by Saturday and I win all five and I got $500 of house money sitting in the account, I can't take any NFL games. I can't take anything again until Monday Night Football because my hard cap limit of what I will risk per week is 500. With that being said, I put $500 on TCU to cover 7.5 against UNC week 1. So that kind of plays into my UNC under. But please practice responsible units. What is responsible for me may not be responsible for you. But Beck and I both love to gamble, but it shouldn't ruin your life. So if you're listening to us, give out picks and you want to ride with us, like we would love that. We're going to do our best to win as much as we can for y'all, but don't spend money you don't have, and don't need the money. If you need to win, that you're already kind of getting into dangerous territory.
That was a wonderful soliloquy, Thomas. I will be hammering South Carolina every which way and 3 times on a Saturday. Go Cox, baby. And speaking of the Gamecocks, some quick notes to run through. Everyone was up in arms about a Board of Trustees meeting regarding Beamer's contract. Everyone was like, is this an extension that's unwarranted? Is this what's going on? It was simply some housekeeping things. I think it had to do with our move from Under Armour to Nike and some of the compensation language written into the contract. But to me, this is a non-story. It's just semantics and things that we don't really as fans need to worry about. But I know it was at first sight of a Board of Trustees meeting regarding contract language for the head coach, your ears perk up. But I do think this was really just a non-story when it comes to football and the effects on the program.
Yeah.
You agree? Okay. Quick notes. We picked up a commitment from App State cornerback Ethan Johnson. He was an all Sun Belt performer this past season. This is having to do with the new rule change of the 2022 high school recruiting class. A good pickup. I don't know much about this kid, but he was a good player at App State, and we could use the depth in the secondary. We talked about it in our defensive preview. Maybe you thought we were a little thin at corner. So
I can speak on this a little bit. Love this pickup. As Beck stated, we were covering this in our defensive preview, and one of the things that I had said was I am super curious to see who the first corner off the bench is in weeks 1 and 2 behind Judge Collier and Bakari Swain, because I think our top 2 guys are really, really good, but, what do we have behind them? This makes me feel a lot better about what we have behind them. This guy's played a lot of football. As Beck just stated, he was all Sun Belt. So really, really, really improves our cornerback depth. I don't think that he is necessarily just being handed the cornerback 3 position. I think that he's still going to have to compete with DeMarcus Leach and Coachy Barnes. But I feel great about where our secondary is right now. Another thing of note, DQ Smith was awarded eligibility under this same rule change, and he has chosen to enter the portal. I believe that is because Currents is a dog. I think that, we respectfully told DQ he will have a better chance of playing this year, and whether he still thinks he can try and make the NFL after one more year of film, or he just wants one more year in college to try and earn some NIL money. I believe we told him he would have a better opportunity to do that if he goes somewhere else. So, the corner, since we did the defensive preview, the cornerback room has gotten an addition and feels a lot deeper and stronger. And the safety room, by not taking DQ Smith, to me, the way that I read that is that they love the young guys behind Peyton and Busey. So really the only reason that I haven't gone full-blown Kool-Aid is Dylan's health questions. I love our secondary. I love our linebackers. I think we did what we needed to do, bolstering the D-line. If Dylan's ready to go by week 4, you're going to have to strap me down because I'm going to be a madman.
Yeah. Speaking of Dylan, more stories about his health and Jacarius Peak as well. Sounds like, as we stated, it's probably going to be week 3, Mississippi State for Peak to get his first action. I would have loved for him to be able to get some game reps against Kent State and Towson, but it is what it is. That's the reports coming out of Columbia. There was some national guys. Chris Lowe was down at camp and had a bunch of stories. Of course, the Dylan news, everyone's engagement farming, oh my God, wait, Dylan Stewart's hurt, and because all these guys, that's all they've been talking about. Oh, South Carolina has Dylan Stewart. South Carolina has Dylan Stewart. And
right. That's why if you're a Carolina fan, you need to listen to this show, because none of the national guys know what the fuck they're talking about. They have 4 South Carolina names in their notes. That's all they know. And I can't believe that they consider themselves journalists and covering this sport and not know that he's been dealing with back stuff both at the end of last season and the entire offseason. But it is probably also engagement farming as well, as you said.
Yeah. So I'm praying for Dylan. But any other camp buzz, Thomas, that you might have heard?
No, I mean that I did pick up that we brought the App State guy in for depth, but we're not handing him the job. It's a competition. So the first guy off the bench for Kent State or Towson is still up for grabs, but I just feel better about where we are bringing in an experienced guy at that spot that's played a lot of football. Haven't heard anything else from camp of note. But it's only 12 days. I don't think the Nuggets really matter anymore. We're 12 days out. We can just, at this point, we can just hold on a little bit longer than we get to see. We get to see for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, 12 days out. Week 0, 12 days out from South Carolina, first game. We got week 0. More stories breaking about just the rules, and I'm so sick of this stuff. But yeah, with this, like the DQ Smiths and with all this court ruling, looks like LSU's taking in Daquan Wright. He's been in Cleveland Browns training camp. This happened with a Texas offensive lineman. They took him back from, I think, the Bengals training camp. But it seems like these guys that are practice squad or destined for the practice squad this season or whatever. I'm just so sick of these stories. It's a one-off to me that like this isn't going to happen next year or going forward. It's a one-off. It's not right to me, but no one's going to give a shit once we start playing games. So to me, I'm tired of talking about these stories that the court ruled this way and this guy. I'm tired of it.
I do think it will continue to happen. Stuff like this will continue to happen until we reach collective bargaining, which is inevitable. So while, I don't think that Lane Kiffin made the right decision leaving Ole Miss to go to LSU. I think he's a douchebag. But the one thing that I do respect about him is that, he is going to do whatever it takes within the rules to give himself a competitive advantage. And I'm not saying that I agree with how the rules work, but this is how things are functioning. And so he is seizing the opportunity while it exists. One of the reasons that Ole Miss was doing the defensive players like laying down to stop tempo is because the season before, Lane Kiffin was running tempo and teams were doing it to him, and he complained about it and it wasn't addressed. So he said, well, fuck it. If this is how – if they're going to let teams defend my tempo this way, we're going to do it too. But he did it to such an extreme that it did actually get the rule changed. So I think that stuff like this happening, while it is insane and isn't really how the sport should function, that is going to get us to where we want to get to quicker, which is, collective bargaining between college players, their conference, the NCAA, real contracts, and then all that can be ironed out. We're the beneficiary of the 5-for-5 rule as well. And, I'm glad, like, if there's a rule change and you don't take the opportunity to try and make your roster better, that's on you. But it is another reason why, Ross said he was disappointed that neither of us had the LSU under. But the reason I don't have the LSU under is because they're going to be good. Like, they're going to be talented. They have 3 players that were in NFL minicamps 2 weeks ago that are going to be on their team. So have fun with that, Clemson. I hope they run it up. I hope they run up the fucking score on them bad.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, to me, we're so close to the season. Like I said, I'm tired of talking about this stuff. Let's just get to the season. We'll talk about this crap in the off season. But to wrap the show, talk about how it's been last week with the students back in town, school back started. How are things going at the bar, Thomas? And
it's been great. Starting on August 12th, we have been open every single night, and that will continue until Tuesday, September 1st. We'll be open every night until Tuesday, September 1st. Then we're taking we're taking one night off to do a staff meeting and a bar clean, and then we'll be right back into it. It's great to have the students back. It's exciting to be this close to football season, but yeah, touchdowns is popping. Y'all come see us. We're doing all the things that we did last season for game days, game sound. I'm going to be on the microphone, riling the crowd up when we're playing well. So yeah, it's great, and we're excited.
Pop off, King. Hell yeah, get down to touchdowns, man. I saw something. I think it was fake, but Jersey Mike's $26 Philly cheesesteaks or something like that, crazy like that.
I have not seen that.
I don't know. It's probably fake, but all I know is you just need to get down to touchdowns for the best Philly cheesesteak in Columbia. So outside of all the fun that you can have on a night out in 5 Points or a Saturday or Sunday game day, just go down there to get a nice Philly cheese, some wings, good meal, cold drinks. But that was fun. Season preview next week. 1 year in, pretty much. We should have saved this episode for Wednesday to be the exact 1 year anniversary, but been doing it for a year. Appreciate everyone. 72 episodes. We're going to do a lot more. And as always, go Cox.
Go Cox.